What happened with HIMS is exactly how a retail story stock gets punished the moment it touches a regulated third rail. And it's also a perfect example of how the market can be completely irrational in both directions. Greedy one day and terrified the next. This is not a missed earnings by 3 cents situation. This is a you stepped into the legal and regulatory blast zone situation. And here's what I want to do. I'm going to break down what this pill actually was and why HIMS even tried it, why it got pulled almost immediately, and why the DOJ and FDA situation matters more than people think, and why Novo went nuclear on this, and what the realistic next paths are.
Welcome to the game, it's the instant stocks by Mikhail Kuhar.
And if you've been following along on my videos, you know over the last 4 years, we've developed our AutoPilot software that allows our team of professional traders who have already made millions day trading trade for you directly through your Interactive Brokers account. You do not need to ever send us money. As long as you got $10,000 to allocate to the trades, they can trade for you. We have a goal of hitting 8 to 15% ROI every single month on your trades. We never risk more than 10% of your portfolio. Risk management is one of our highest values, and we have almost 500 members trading with us every single day. We have members like this who are looking to add more than $100,000 to the software. And we got members like this that have bought a house with the information we've given them for trades. And you can see we have dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of testimonials from clients that are pumped with the results it's getting for them. But if you want to find out more, just book a call below. I'll put the link under this video, but let's get stuck in to what we're talking about today. So let's start with the product itself. HIMS announced it would offer an oral compounded semaglutide pill, basically positioned as a cheaper alternative to the Wegovy pill. Now, the headline's price was $49 per month, and Reuters later clarified that $49 per month was just an introductory price. After the first month, it could move to $99, and for people on a multi-month plan. Like, that price point is the entire reason the market exploded, because Novo's own pricing for the pill format was being discussed at a much higher level. And then suddenly HIMS shows up and says, hey, here's a $49 pill that instantly threatens the entire cash pay obesity market narrative. Now, Reuters literally framed it that way. They said HIMS' move rattled the investor case around cash pay obesity pricing. So here's the problem. Compounded semaglutide is not FDA approved, so it has not gone through the FDA clinical trial review process like most branded products. Well, like all branded products. Compounding is legal, but only in very specific lanes. So when a branded drug is in shortage, the compounding lane widens, and when that shortage is declared over, the lane starts to narrow really fast. At that point, it's supposed to be personalized compounding, not mass market, we're selling the copy to everyone else type of energy. Now, Reuters made this very clear when discussing Novo's lawsuit, and the FDA's position after semaglutide was no longer considered in shortage. So, what did HIMS do? They came out with a mass appeal message. Cheap, easy pill form subscription. And what did the government go and do then? It reacted, and it reacted fast. The FDA signaled it would take decisive steps to restrict GLP-1 ingredients used in non-FDA approved compounded drugs that are being mass marketed. And Reuters reported that HHS said it would refer HIMS to the DOJ for potential violations of the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. Now, even if it wasn't clear how quickly sales could be stopped, that was a real turning point, because once the DOJ shows up in a story, the market just stops caring about growth multiples and it starts caring about injunction risk and how big this problem could get. Then Novo stepped in, and Novo didn't just complain. Novo sued. The patent infringement claims, the court orders, the permanent injunction, language, damages. Reuters described it as Novo opening a new front, and this wasn't safety vibes for HIMS at all. This was aggressive patent enforcement made possible by the end of shortage environment that happened in GLP-1s. Now, HIMS responded by saying it would stop offering the pill. Their message was basically, we launched it, we had conversations with stakeholders, and we decided to stop offering access to this treatment. So here's the sequence the market watched. HIMS launches the cheapest GLP-1 pill headline in America. Reuters warned DOJ referral language starts to appear. Novo sues, HIMS pulls the pill. That all happened in days. Now, let's talk about the stock. Now, how this affects the stock, because this is where the emotion starts to show up. Reuters said that on the day the cheap pill story hit, shares surged. Big reaction, but they still finished the day lower. Then when the reversal and crackdown narrative hit, the stock got smashed. This sent the stock down around 20 to 25% just in one day. So some literally described it as destroyed. So yes, we got exactly what you'd expect. A massive headline, then an air pocket of reality. Then the stock got traded like a meme for a moment and then got hit with the you're in trouble regulators patent owner hammer. Retail freaked out and they reacted, and here's why that reaction is so extreme. See, the market is trying to answer one question. Was GLP-1 compounding going to be a major growth for HIMS moving forward? And is that engine now at risk of being shut down or narrowed aggressively? And if the answer is yes, the stock reprices very, very fast. But if the answer is no, then the stock is overreacting. That's the debate. Now, if we add another layer, this isn't just FDA and DOJ, this is about power. Novo defending the biggest drug franchise on the planet right now. They are definitely not going to let a telehealth platform normalize the idea that a Wegovy pill but $49 is a thing. Reuters described HIMS' move as a massive tipping point. Now, that's exactly how Novo framed it. And the part people miss a lot, though, is even though HIMS pulled the pill, Novo's lawsuit still matters because it's not only about that pill. Multiple reports have been saying that Novo is also going after large-scale compounding more broadly. That includes injectables and not just a pill story. So from a market perspective, this isn't just a bad PR weekend. This is the obesity drug giants really starting to push a legal precedent for HIMS, and regulators signaling that they really want to tighten up the compounding lane. So what's next? Well, first, the baseline. Reuters reported HIMS forecast over $2.3 billion in revenue for 2025. That matters. Now, this is not a tiny startup. This is a scaled telehealth subscription business. So the real question is, will they survive? Is this it? Is this the end? Is this the thing that shakes them and puts the stock price down that they cannot recover from? Does the market need a haircut? Was the growth narrative always going to be bumpy, pushing edges and growing at the rate HIMS was? And also, does this also mean the narrative of the growth has now stalled if GLP-1s do get restricted? So if we look at both scenarios for this, scenario one, the regulating side of things really tightens, but there's no total shutdown. In this case, HIMS stops mass marketing any compounded pill, and they just start cleaning up the marketing language, essentially. They keep offering weight loss programs, but in a more conservative, compliance-first posture. They really found their limit with this one. Now, the obesity category still exists as a funnel, but it's just less explosive, more controlled, and legal costs go up. Reputation takes a bit of a hit, but the core subscription engine stays. Scenario two is enforcement really escalates, and this was the market reaction, thinking this is how the path was going to be laid out moving forward. Like, the market priced it in a way when the regulators and everyone came in for this, with the DOJ and the FDA getting involved. Now, if courts or regulators effectively prevent broad access to compounded semaglutide or restrict things so hard that economics break, then a hyped growth segment starts to really disappear and the stock derates very, very hard. And this is why DOJ language hits so hard. You can't multiple expand through a court order. Now, scenario three, HIMS pivot. Branded partnerships, different access models, new categories, slower growth, but more defensible. So you've got a real tug of war with these two scenarios. On one side, this is a serious legal overhang and growth really gets a solid haircut. We're going to see some of the earnings coming out in February soon. On the other, the platform is real. The market is just panic price in the worst case. And the reason this feels so violent is because it is emotional. That 17% up and 25% downswing tells you the market wasn't trading cash flows. It was trading the narrative and story headline attached to it. And we have two narratives from this. HIMS crack a cheap GLP-1 access. The second is the FDA crackdown, the DOJ referral, and the Novo lawsuit. This is just retail psychology. People do not buy spreadsheets. They buy stories, especially in the retail space. And when regulators attack the story, everyone hits sell at the same time. One last thing before we go about Novo, because it really does matter. Novo has massive incentives here. They're defending patents, pricing power, and legitimacy of the FDA approval framework. Reuters mentioned that Novo's legal strategy is escalating and that the end of the shortage conditions made it easier for them to go really aggressive. In plain English, this fight is not going away next week. So what's the smartest way to frame what comes next without pretending we can predict court rulings or prices or what's going to happen. If headlines keep getting worse, more enforcement language, more lawsuits, more restrictions, and the stock stays heavy. For me personally, I'm going to be buying in all of these situations if this keeps happening. There's going to be lower highs, there's going to be repetitive sell-offs, and proof required. If headlines stabilize, meaning the risky product is clearly gone, compliance improves, and growth shows up elsewhere, the stock can rebound sharply. And someone seeing massive potential in what HIMS are currently creating right now, let's be honest, HIMS touched the hottest patent drug category on earth, and they tried to undercut it. And they got slapped instantly, and now the market is repricing. So future GLP-1 profits down. That's the entire 2026 crash framing in what the bears are saying. But the bull case, even inside this chaos, is also simple. HIMS is a platform, distribution, brand, subscription retention. The market may be pricing them like a single product GLP-1 story, when in reality, they're broader. The truth will show up in future quarters. Now, in revenue mix, customer growth, and how the company communicate compliance, one last detail that really matters, a lot of this comes down to marketing language. The FDA specifically warned companies not to describe compounded products as generic or the same as FDA-approved drugs. And it highlighted enforcement tools like seizures and injunctions. So that's not a small detail. There's going to be a bit of language change moving forward for them because there needs to be. That's the difference between a legal lane and a legal wall. So here's the closing message. This price action was not fundamentals. It was narrative whiplash. And the stock didn't move 20% because the business changed overnight. It moved because the market suddenly had to price legal risk, enforcement risk, and the durability of a major growth product line. And that's what retail stocks do. They overreact both ways. Let me know your thoughts below, how you think HIMS is going to handle this, and what do you think is going to happen in the future with them and Novo in this space. As always, I'll be bringing videos to you daily. Hit subscribe, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video.